Right, let's look at hiring sales leaders. Through this session, we've talked a couple of times about, on average, you will go through 2.13 revenue leaders just in this phase. That is 2 mishires, as revenue leaders come in, too much experience, not enough experience, and you have to have this turnover. This can cause a huge amount of delay. So it's really important that as you're bringing in these leaders, you bring in the right people for the right phase. Let's just remind ourselves about where we are headed and what is your go-to-market org going to look like at that 10 million ARR. You, from a sales function, you are going to need a VP of sales. Now, you might call it a CRO, but this is going to be a leader of leaders, someone that has got leaders underneath them and can scale out a larger organization, including SDRs, including AEs, including account managers, probably opening up your first international office. You might have a team that is focused on selling a specialist new product rather than just all selling core. This is a very different skill to the one you need right now, which is getting R through the door from a team of 8 sellers. So in the ScaleWise report, they do a lovely job of providing you with some descriptions of these 2 roles. So let's look at this sales director role. Now, don't worry too much about the name. You might call it a VP of sales in order to try and attract a higher quality of candidate. You might call it a sales manager. Ultimately, it's a player manager role. It is someone that is head of sales, who has a team of sellers underneath them, but they are focused on execution. They are managing that sales team. They're reporting to you in terms of the forecast, but they are not a leadership level type person. They're not sitting in your leadership team. They're not defining the go-to-market. They're not defining the plan. They are out there to get the deals done. So they are in customer calls, they're in meetings, they're traveling to these customer sites. They may even carry their own sales quota as it's all hands on deck. They are responsible for bringing new salespeople into the team and then enabling them and coaching them. They're helping to document what good looks like, and because they're sat on those calls and in their meetings. They are there also to coach, to support, to motivate, and to manage out any of those sellers that are underperforming. The key thing here is they are laser focused on the team and selling and winning new business. All of the stuff that we talked about previously about revenue operations, about building out forecasting, about defining the ICP, about building buyer enablement tools, you've got to keep all of that well away from this person so that they can focus on selling. Now, how does that differ from the person that you're likely to bring in at the next stage of the process, which is as you come up towards that 10 million ARR? That is the VP of sales. And at this stage, you might call that something else. You might call it a CRO, because you're also trying to bring people forward from a larger organization. But this isn't a true CRO role. This is a VP of sales role. This person is now a manager of managers, a leader of leaders. They've now got maybe 4 or 5 sales directors underneath them, and they're thinking about the entire business target. They really are now becoming responsible for that revenue number. They are starting to define a multi-quarter budget and plan and manage against it. They are developing a more structured compensation model for the different types of sellers. They are starting to become more of a leadership role. They're working closely with your VP of marketing, who might now be called a CMO. They're working closely with your VP of customer success and really starting to think about that end-to-end revenue strategy. their managers are the ones focused on the day-to-day in the customer meetings. Your VP of sales is one level above that. Now, it's good to think about these two different roles and think about, can that previous person, the sales director, become the VP of sales? Or do you really need to bring someone back from another company to come and who's done this before, who's managed a team and has scaled an organization like that, has opened up in different countries, has opened up in different segments? You also want to think, is this type of role what I need right now? If you hire someone that is too far along in the process, when really what you need is execution, you'll find someone that is too busy with spreadsheets, building out plans, building an amazing playbook, but has not actually been out in the trenches working with their teams, winning deals. And this is often where you see a little bit of this turnover happens too early. So definitely think about which role you need for today, rather than worrying too much about what role you'll need next year. In the next section, I will just summarize a lot of what we have covered, and we'll wrap up this segment.